Okay, close your eyes for just a second. I want you to picture a Bulgarian. What image comes to mind? Did you maybe see someone with olive skin, dark hair, sort of classic Mediterranean looks? Or maybe you imagine someone taller, light eyes, this prominent Slavic cheekbones, maybe lighter brown hair. Well, here's the really fascinating part. Both of those pictures, they're absolutely correct. And honestly, that's just scratching the surface. Bulgaria isn't just visually diverse, it's this unique genetic and cultural tapestry, a kind of quiet but really profound center of human history. It challenges so many ideas we have about what a European nation looks like. So today we're doing a deep dive. We're going to unpack this visual mystery of Bulgaria's incredible diversity and explore why it might just be one of the most underappreciated examples of genetic complexity in, well, all of Europe.
That's spot on. Researchers consistently point to Bulgaria as, yeah, one of Europe's most genetically rich crossroads. I mean,
Wow.
just try to imagine a place that over thousands and thousands of years has soaked up migrations, invasions, empires, cultural exchanges,
Mhm.
all without really losing its core identity. And what's truly remarkable is that you can actually still see those ancient layers today, in people's eyes, their facial structure, skin tone, walking around the cities and villages.
That's such a powerful idea, living history right there on people's faces. Okay, so to really get why Bulgarians don't all look the same, we need to rewind a bit, right? We need to understand Bulgaria's unique position geographically, historically. So when you look at the map, where exactly is Bulgaria, and how has that location kept shaping its people?
Well, geographically, it's nestled right there between Greece, Turkey, Serbia, Romania, and North Macedonia. Strategic, you could say. But its role is bigger than just being another Balkan country. Historically, it's been this absolutely critical corridor, a land bridge connecting Europe and Asia. Think about the major routes, the Danube River, the Black Sea, access to the Aegean, the Near East. It was a constant thoroughfare, not some quiet backwater. And the evidence from archaeology, from ancient DNA, shows this land was settled, then resettled, then transformed again and again. We're talking Thracians, Greeks, Romans, Slavic tribes, the Proto-Bulgars who had Turkic origins, remember, then Byzantines, Ottomans, Armenians, Jews, so many groups. And the key insight here really is that Bulgaria was never homogenous. Its incredibly diverse past is exactly what shaped how its people look today. There isn't one single origin story. It's more like many threads woven together.
Right, it really drives home how interconnected these regions were, doesn't it? Not isolated pockets at all. So, when we talk about all those historical layers, Thracians, Slavs, Proto-Bulgars, Ottomans, which one would you say left, maybe, the most surprising genetic mark? Or the one that most challenges our modern assumptions?
That's a good question. It's less about one single layer dominating and more about the accumulation, the way they piled up. For example, you have the ancient Thracian populations. They were largely assimilated, yes, but they left this deep underlying genetic substratum. Then the Slavs arrive, bringing clear Eastern European markers. Then come the Proto-Bulgars, adding Central Asian and Turkic elements. And you absolutely cannot underestimate the Ottoman era. Centuries of rule meant profound genetic exchange with Anatolian and Near Eastern populations. So it's this multi-layered fusion, this constant mixing over millennia, rather than just one single dominant group that really makes Bulgaria stand out. It
Right.
just
Yeah.
keeps defying the neat little boxes we try to put national identities into.
That makes so much sense. A continuous process, not just distinct events. Okay, so let's zoom in a bit closer now. Let's look at the specific physical traits that show this incredible diversity. We usually notice eyes first, right? What about eye color in Bulgaria? Is it as mixed as the history suggests? Or do those Southern European brown eye stereotypes hold up more?
Ah, eye color. It's actually surprisingly varied and, yeah, a great place to start because it busts some myths. Scientists have found that Bulgarians, like on average, have one of the most balanced eye color distributions in Europe. It's not overwhelmingly blue, not overwhelmingly brown. It's genuinely mixed. There was a survey, I think back in 2016, looked at over 2,500 Bulgarians. It found about 35% had light eyes blue or gray. Another 30% had green or hazel. And the remaining 35%, dark brown or even black brown.
Wow, that's almost perfectly balanced.
Exactly, and it creates this fascinating gradient across the country, heavily influenced by region and older ancestral lines. So for instance, up in the north and west, where the Slavic influence was historically stronger, yeah, blue and green eyes are noticeably more common. But then you go south and east, closer to the Black Sea, closer to the Turkish border, and darker eyes become much more frequent. And that's directly linked to that Ottoman era mixing, but also even earlier connections, Byzantine, Anatolian. So it means two siblings could easily have completely different eye colors, one blue, one dark brown. And neither is seen as unusual. It's just Bulgarian, a testament to this deep genetic well.
A third blue-gray, a third green hazel, a third brown. That's quite something. Okay, so building on that, what about hair? Is hair color and texture just as varied, or do we see more common patterns emerge there?
Hair follows a similar pattern complex, again, challenging those easy assumptions. Despite what people often think about Southern Europeans generally having dark hair, a really significant number of Bulgarians have naturally light brown or even dark blonde hair. You see this quite a bit, especially in some rural areas, mountainous regions like the Rhodopes or up northwest near Vidin in Montana. Some genetic studies around 2018 suggested maybe 40–45% have light to medium brown hair, about 25% dark brown to black. And then there's this interesting group, maybe 25–30% kind of in between, often with these really nice golden or coppery undertones.
Huh. So not predominantly dark then?
Not at all. And it's not just color. Texture varies quite a bit too. Some Bulgarians have that straight, fine textured hair you might associate more with Central or Eastern Europe. Others have slightly wavy or even coarser hair. And researchers often connect that texture difference to Near Eastern or Mediterranean admixture for those historical layers we talked about. So yeah, the Bulgarian look, it isn't singular. It's deeply layered right down to hair texture.
That detail about texture adds another whole dimension I hadn't really thought about. It shows how many subtle things make up our appearance.
Okay, so if even hair isn't straightforward, facial features must be where those old categories completely fall apart, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is exactly where those traditional anthropological classifications just don't work very well anymore. For decades, people tried to fit populations into neat boxes, Nordic, Alpine, Mediterranean, Dinaric features. But modern Bulgarians, they just defy that because they often embody elements from several of these and more. There was a facial morphology study in 2020, really interesting stuff. It found, for example, that northern Bulgarians often show broader foreheads, maybe deeper set eyes, higher cheekbones features, consistent with Slavic and Balkan Dinaric types.
But then you look at southern Bulgarians, maybe from around Plovdiv or Kardzali, down near the borders. They frequently have narrower noses, more arched eyebrows, maybe fuller lips, traits you'd more commonly associate with Anatolian, maybe ancient Thracian or Near Eastern ancestry. The variation is so significant that even technical things like the cranial index, basically skull width to length ratio, varies dramatically by region across Bulgaria.
So literally, someone from Sofia could look completely different from someone from Plovdiv, even though both are ethnically Bulgarian.
Exactly. They might appear as if they're from entirely different parts of, well, not just Europe, but maybe even wider regions. The contrasts within the same country are truly striking.
It almost makes you want to just sit in a cafe and say Veliko Tarnovo and just observe the incredible variety passing by. It really messes with your internal default image of a European face. And what about overall body build? Height, stature, does that same level of diversity hold, or is there a bit more uniformity there?
You might expect more uniformity, but the diversity persists, just maybe in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
In terms of sheer height, Bulgarians are pretty much in line with their Balkan neighbors, a bit taller than the global average, but not quite as tall as, say, Northern Europeans. That 2021 National Health Report put the average male at about 177 centimeters, what's that? 5'9.7, and women around 165 centimeters, so 5'5".
Average enough.
Right, but the interesting part is the regional variation in body structure. People from the mountainous regions think Rhodopes, Rila Mountains. They often tend towards stockier builds, broader chests, maybe stronger bone density, and it's possibly, an evolutionary adaptation over generations to the altitude, the colder climate, the lifestyle. But then you go to the cities or the coastal areas like Varna or Burgas. You see much more varied body shapes there, and that reflects more recent gene flow, people moving around, mixing from diverse backgrounds, Turkish, Armenian, Greek, Roma communities contributing to the urban mix. So while there's an average height, there really isn't a single default Bulgarian body type.
Yeah.
You get these regional archetypes instead, each shaped by geography and history.
It really highlights how our environment subtly shapes us over time, doesn't it? I remember hiking in mountainous areas elsewhere, and you just feel how generations of that life could create a certain robustness. Sounds very similar to the Rhodopes example. Okay, last major physical trait.
Yeah.
Skin tone. I'm guessing there's a similar nuance here, going beyond just the simple white or Caucasian label.
Precisely. Skin tone in Bulgaria is one of those quietly diverse traits, often overlooked but very telling. Yes, broadly speaking, Bulgarians fit within the white Caucasian category in global terms, but within that, significant nuance. Dermatological studies, I think from around 2015, showed most Bulgarians fall within Fitzpatrick's skin types too.
Which covers?
That covers quite a range. Everything from fair skin that burns easily, type 2, up to light olive skin that tans well, which is type 4. And again, you see regional patterns. Lighter skin tones tend to be more common in the north and northwest, whereas down south and southeast, especially near the Turkish and Greek borders, you find more people with those warmer olive undertones. This is particularly true in the mixed populations of the cities. And of course, we have to mention the impact of Roma communities. They're one of the largest minority groups in Bulgaria. Their presence, especially in cities like Sliven, Pazarjic, even parts of Sofia, contributes to a genuine spectrum of skin tones you see across the country. It adds yet another layer to this visible diversity.
So many layers, so much difference you can actually see, all adding up to this vibrant mosaic. Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting, doesn't it? Because this kind of deep, visible diversity, well, it must have sparked cultural debates, questions about national identity, right? How has that played out in Bulgaria?
Oh, absolutely. This is where the history gets quite sensitive and very real for people. You know, Bulgaria, like a lot of countries in the region, post-Ottoman, post-communist, has grappled, sometimes intensely, with questions of who are we? National identity. And in that process, physical appearance has, unfortunately, often been politicized. It gets tangled up in those identity debates. In some circles, there's still this kind of lingering, maybe romanticized idea of the true Bulgarian, usually pictured as light-skinned, blue-eyed, distinctly Slavic-looking. Now, if you connect that image to the bigger picture, the actual history, well, that image often traces back to 19th century nationalism, and it got reinforced sometimes during the Soviet era for various reasons. But the crucial point is this idealized image just doesn't reflect the reality on the ground. Not historically, and certainly not today. It never really did.
Right, based on everything we've discussed.
Exactly. The historical truth is that Bulgaria has always been a blend, a dynamic mix. You had ancient Thracian farmers, nomadic Turkic horsemen settling down, waves of Slavic settlers, centuries under Ottoman rule bringing merchants and administrators, Jewish scholars finding refuge, countless Balkan villagers mixing. And today, you have over 15% of the population identifying with ethnic minorities. Roma, Turks, Armenians, Vlachs, and others are significant communities. So the very idea of a single Bulgarian look just completely falls apart when you look at the facts, the history, the present. And this raises, I think, a really important point, or maybe a question. This deep-seated diversity, it's not a weakness, not a problem to be solved. It's actually, well, it's like a portrait of survival, of resilience, a testament to this long, complicated, fascinating history.
A portrait of survival.
I like that. That's a really powerful way to reframe it. It shifts the whole narrative, doesn't it? Away from seeing diversity as fragmentation towards seeing it as strength built through centuries of interaction, adaptation, mixing. So when we bring this all together, what makes Bulgaria's people look so different? It's not some big mystery we need to solve. It really is like a masterpiece, created by time, by geography, by migration, by empires rising and falling, and just the incredible resilience of the people living there. Try to picture it. Stand in a single Bulgarian village square. You might see a kid with ash blonde hair, bright green eyes. Right next to them, maybe a girl with dark, curly hair and that warm olive skin. Over there, a man, his skin weathered by the sun, maybe a strong Slavic jawline, and he's talking to a woman with golden freckles, maybe more classic Mediterranean cheekbones. All of them Bulgarian. All of them completely real.
Precisely. Bulgaria sits right at this incredible intersection. Continents, languages, empires, faiths, they all meet there, and that beautiful, sometimes chaotic, definitely complicated intersection, it lives on. It's visible in the people. It's living history, a story that's still unfolding in every face you see. So maybe something for you, our listener, to think about. Do you feel like Bulgaria's incredible diversity is maybe underappreciated in Europe, perhaps overshadowed by simpler, more generalized ideas of what European nations should look like? Or maybe in your own travels, your own observations, have you noticed how features can shift, sometimes dramatically, across really small distances, even within countries you thought you knew pretty well? What does looking Bulgarian, or honestly looking like any nationality, what does that truly mean to you now after this deep dive?